jobs report out today, and I'm wondering what you believe the skills of the future are for the post-COVID workforce. What are employers telling you?
Yeah, I mean, the answer to that question has become obvious, especially given the pace at which our workforce has been changing during the COVID-19 pandemic. The skills of the future is a fast moving goalpost. So to put some numbers around that, 52% of today's job tasks will disappear in the next 5 years, and nearly 60 million new jobs will appear in the same time frame. So, the kind of important thing to remember is that we all actually have these soft skills, or at Scoutible, we call them strengths, that make us naturally faster learners in roles that fit our strengths.
Well, those
So
new
then you can,
jobs, I want to talk about those new jobs for a second. Let's hang on to that thought, because those new jobs, today we saw a lot of the jobs created with the government and in logistics and places you would see in this economy. But where do you see those 60 million new jobs coming from?
I mean, it's really across the board. I mean, the thing is that technology is certainly changing the technology field, but it's applying to everything across the economy. So, as I was saying, like the real skill of the future is the ability to identify the industries and roles that fit our strengths, which allow us to maintain a competitive advantage for upskilling for the demands of the rapidly evolving economy from all angles and across the board.
I'm glad you started to bring up those, so-called soft skills. A little earlier today, we spoke to the president of Arizona State, and he said the hottest thing in the job market is English or philosophy major that can code. What are the three skills? What are those soft skills that you could boil down to what employers are looking for?
So it's really not, there's no blanket skills that, fit every job. It's really very unique to every single role as well as every single company. But across the board, research has shown that the soft skills or the strengths that people have are the single most accurate predictors of future job performance for any job. So, it's really about finding the roles that fit your unique strengths. And for companies, it's about finding the best benchmark for which sets of attributes that fit the role and fit their company's culture. Because the set of strengths that work for a specific role and company can vary by department. It can vary by team, seniority, by actual geographic location of the company or the office. So having a technology that actually is able to identify which soft skills work the best for a certain role is really the key to unlocking the power of soft skills in the hiring process.
So can you explain a little what this unconscious bias that you're tracking among employers is? What are employers getting wrong here?
Yeah, so unconscious bias really is something that is, not really a denunciation of any individual or any individual's process. It's really something that is a kind of psychological phenomenon about how we as humans evaluate and process information sequentially or at all. So it's the crazy thing about it is it's so obvious from the numbers that we see. There's so many studies that show that whitening an applicant's name on a completely equivalent resume doubles the callbacks for interviews. And actually people, think that we're learning soft skill information through interviews, where the research actually shows that the impression, like our evaluation interviews, are made in the first 10 seconds. Where in the first 10 seconds, the most salient information we glean are unfortunately things like gender and age, race, and socioeconomic signals. So, and then on top of that, we have recruiting processes which very openly scan for certain top schools or previous impressive work experience, which are both primarily correlated with socioeconomic background.
Right.
So that's really what's driving the poor hiring outcomes we see. If we look across the economy, more than half of hires fail. And you can really point back to the resume as being the primary culprit for that phenomenon.
That's pretty incredible, Angela. And a lot of this came out of your work at Harvard Law School, at your work with the White House. What are you worried about as a lot of this hiring starts to go online instead?
I actually think it's an incredible opportunity. Obviously with COVID-19, millions of talented people have lost their jobs in the single largest unemployment drop in history. But I've been saying to everyone, I've been saying for years that this is actually a unique opportunity. one of my more controversial opinions is that I actually think most people are in the wrong jobs. And this is a conclusion born out of those years of research, because as job seekers, we're only ever directly exposed to such a small fraction of the possible jobs in the world, largely as a function of circumstantial factors like my socioeconomic background, or what jobs my parents did, or what's the hot job that came to campus when I graduated. So it's very unlikely that people ever just serendipitously find the role that optimally matches their unique abilities and interests. So, I actually believe this is this century's most imminent threat to American competitiveness.
Right.
So finding the roles that fit us is actually, this is an opportunity for everyone to kind of have a career pivot and find the role that, really fits their abilities and their ability to compete in this workforce.